Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to focus on some of the recent market moves that we've seen. I want to focus on one thing in particular because I think that what is going on here should not really be believed. And the reason why I say that is because what we're seeing, I think, is just a lot of manipulation in the market. And obviously markets are a lot more easily manipulated when it's fearful because people are a lot more scared and they have a lot less conviction. So let's go on ahead and dive right in. So first off, what we can see is, we're looking at the alt season index. We can see that it is very firmly Bitcoin season. And what that means is essentially alts have been beaten down pretty bad. Bitcoin usually leads the market in terms of, moves for the broader crypto market. And so when it's Bitcoin season, usually the main thing that we should be tuning into is the price of Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is doing specifically, because alts right now they're not really catching the attention of the wider market. So with that in mind, let's go and take a look at the Bitcoin price chart. Now, as you can see here, I have 7 different boxes highlighted. And as you might be able to see, you might pretty quickly be able to spot a trend. So what we can see here is in about an hour, Bitcoin went up about $1,000 and then peaking up at the absolute top at about $1,500 above what it was just a couple hours prior. And then what we can see is it kind of moves, stays a little bit in the same area, levels out a little bit, and then boom, drops right back down. So in my mind, this is purely just a move to shake leverage. As we can see, we're sort of seeing a resistance point here. And so if I had to guess, there was a lot of liquidations sitting in this kind of area generally. And so we had a big move up to essentially wipe the liquidations and then a big move down. Now, you may say, oh, well, Cade, this just happened one single time. Well, as we saw earlier, this happens like a lot. And what we can see here is this is 7 times. I only went back less than a month. This is the 24th of July. So not even a month back. And we can see there are 7 different times that this happens, and they all look very, very similar. We can see here, same type of thing, big bump, levels out a little bit, big drop, basically almost to exactly where we were before. Same thing here, similar, big bump, big drop. Same thing here, but it also works in the opposite direction. It kind of holds, big drop, big pump, levels again. Same here, this one happened on a little bit of a smaller scale. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here. So you get the point. But what I'm saying is, when we see a lot of these, big run-ups, this is essentially, to get people, jazzed or excited, and then essentially, wipe the liquidations. And one thing that we can see here in this next tab is that there have been a lot of liquidations within the past 24 hours. And if you look, almost all of them were long. Now, if we go back to the chart here, this makes sense, right? Like, overall, the market is still in fear. Everybody's kind of got more of a bearish sentiment long term, at least until we can kind of start to break this like downtrend that we've been seeing. If we go out to the day, we can see over time, we've kind of got this like bearish long-term trend forming. And so essentially until we can, make a meaningful break out of this trend, the market's going to be kind of a little skittish and a little scared of what's going on. So, when we see a quick pump like that, to me, it's just completely obvious that this is purely just a wipe liquidation and clear some people who might have been over leveraged out of the market. So with that, let's go on to this next chart. We can see this heat map. We've looked at this before on the channel, but this is something that I think is always worth taking a look at. Now, this is a year, so we'll zoom in a second, but we can see, there's quite a bit of spread over here. To the downside, we're seeing massive amounts of leverage at 25,500 roughly, about 33,000. We've got another little bit here, like 38,000. And then as we can see, the top side, all of the leverage or like the liquidation points are essentially going to be kind of at or near this local peak that we saw back in March. So if we zoom in a little bit, obviously we're at a closer range. We're looking at essentially the local highs and then the downtrend that we've been seeing since. So looking at this, we can see here, $3.5 billion to be liquidated if we go above like the 70,500. Again, same thing here. We've got another $3.25 billion at like the 72.5. So, obviously what we can see in the market is there's a massive like wall of liquidations sitting here at above some of these like local tops that we've seen. So, in my opinion, the market almost always moves in the way that is most painful to as many people as possible. So as we can see, I think it's pretty clear to me, and I would imagine it'd be pretty clear to everybody, that this would be, the most painful move that the market could make. Now, historically, we can talk about, historical trends of Bitcoin and how it moves generally just throughout the year in history. Usually September and occasionally October are not great times for Bitcoin statistically. So I'm not saying that this is a move that needs to happen, immediately. But what I am saying is this is probably something that I personally at least am expecting to see, even if before we, even let's just say, the bears are right and Bitcoin's dead. We've hit our all-time highs back in March, way back somewhere over here. And, now we're going to go see, new lows and the bull market's dead, come back in 4 years. Even if that is true, which I don't think it is, but even if it is, I still think we return back up to these points, if nothing else than to just clear the liquidations, or just to liquidate all these people and clear the leverage before then heading down. Because it also would serve as a double whammy, because if we were to break this, odds are that, we would probably see a big wall of leverage liquidations form around this line, because everybody's thinking, oh my gosh, we're so back. Bitcoin's going to 100 grand or, whatever. And then, it would then come down and hit this line here. So, obviously maybe that's a little bit more cynical view on the market, but that is kind of my thesis is where we're at right now. One thing that we can also look at here is we've got a crypto derivatives visual screener. This is an interesting chart to look at because you can kind of get a general sense on the market. And, this is something we can see over the past 24 hours. Obviously, in our first chart that we saw a little bit more bullish action going on. So we can see, generally in the market, there's people either closing shorts or entering longs. Obviously, we have a couple exceptions down here where, people are closing longs or, potentially even opening shorts. But for the majority of the market, what we are seeing is that, people are either closing shorts or opening longs, or, some combination of the two. So anyway, that's just what I want to go over today, looking into the overall Bitcoin market. I think, at this point, there will come a time when altcoins start to matter again, but at least in my opinion, I think right now, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, a lot of those types of coins, those are really the ones that we need to be focused on, just because it's Bitcoin season, right? Like we need to see what Bitcoin does, and Bitcoin is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. So we need to see, how that moves, and then the rest of the crypto market will follow. Right now, the overall crypto market is far too uneasy with just general macro issues. We've got the U.S. election coming up. There's a lot of things that I think are scaring a lot of people. So it wouldn't really even surprise me if we honestly don't see much movement of anything too crazy until after the election, and maybe even, when we start to see some rate cuts, which based on what the Fed was saying, the first one is almost certain to be scheduled in September, and then, maybe we see another one in November. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there. If you like the information in this channel, please do like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Also, feel free to leave a comment. I do reply to all my comments, and I do really enjoy seeing what you guys have to say. And, I like answering questions too, if they do come up. If you have anything that you'd like me to discuss further or anything like that, also I do take recommendations and comments, in the comment section as well. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.